Hello everybody and welcome to, for the first time on the channel, X-Plane 11. Now, admittedly I haven't flown X-Plane 11 in a very long time. I even had it uninstalled in my most recent build. So this is a brand new, fresh installation and default and out of the box. First thing that I like to do whenever I install any new simulator game, whatever you want to call it, whatever it may be, honestly, is get my settings nice and comfortable in a default environment before I start worrying about add-ons and things like that. Because that way we know what we're battling against, right? So we're sitting here at Tucson International, my hometown, and what we're looking for here is the any stuttering, poor frame rates, things like that. Now I've got everything kicked up pretty high. Reflection details low. We'll go ahead and kick that up a bit. And actually, I think what we're going to do is go to the highest, as you can see on everything that I can set here. And then we're going to start bringing things back down, okay? I don't have my track IR active right now. I'm not worried about the head tracker right now. I'm just worried about dialing in the settings as is. I'm not expecting great performance here in a minute. I'm expecting things to be very choppy, very, unpleasant to fly with. I'm trying to remember how. Gosh, it's been so long. I know there's a way to bring up the FPS counter. Edit weights and balances down. Toggle yoke visibility. Show ground handling window. Toggle replay mode. Flight. Take screenshot. Take video recording. I thought it was in the developer. Aircraft performance? No. I know there's a way to do it. Let's check the controls for a second, because I know it's got it. Let's go to keyboard. And just check this: enunciators, replay operation, laminar. Laminar maybe? Nope. Views, time might show under timing. No, that's just a timer. Sim, dynamic, operation, load simulation. This has got to be it. This one would make sense. I guess not. Okay. I know it's in here. Essentials? Alright, well, let's just do this. Go to all and type in FPS. Toggle frame rate display. I knew it was there. Shift, Control, and F. Shift, Control, Foxtrot. Oh my gosh, you can read that. Can I make that? Does that count as the UI? If we go into General, was it General? Or is it Graphics? Of course you need to restart X-Plane. Alright, well, I'll be right back and we'll... Alright, well, clearly that didn't help, but we can see it's about 18 frames is what it's looking at. But let's get going. Okay, so even as we move, that's pretty crappy. So you know what? Let's just pause right here, because that's already unacceptable for me. So let's go to the settings, and I'm going to start looking at things that tend to be the most severely impacting. And I can tell you right now that one of the biggest ones is this number of world objects. So I'm going to kick this down to high for a minute. Oh, there you go. Let it reload. I noticed the biggest impact when I increase that, which makes sense because that's going, like I've said before, in Microsoft Flight Simulator, the terrain in any simulator or environment is the hardest to render. So let's see what we're getting now. About the same, not much improvement there, which is fine. So next, let's go ahead and take the reflection detail down. I'm going to see if that makes it any better. About half a frame, nothing to write home about. Let's take our texture quality, I think is the one. You know what? Actually, I bet it is. I bet it's the anti-aliasing. So let's check. Of course you do. Of course you do. All right. I'm going to try to start with the ones that we don't have to restart the sim for. So let's start with anti-aliasing instead of anisotropic filtering. What did we get there? Oh, that was a big jump. Big jump right there. Let's get airborne. Oh, I'm not even ready. I thought, gosh, I've been tooling around for so long. I didn't realize I'd still only gone 10 feet. Alright, so I'm turning towards where there's actually something to look at. Again, ignore the flying. This is all about performance here. It looks like we're in the high 30s now. But yet still pretty choppy. Gosh, it's crazy going from FS 2020 back to here. All right, so now, and I know it'll get better. You know, you got add-ons and things like that. So there's still plenty of things to mess with. Now let's go ahead and take. Draw sceneries. Supposedly, I don't know if Vulkan is actually working. I checked it just in case, so I don't know if it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing or not. Let's bring the number of roll objects down to medium. Alright, so back in the 40s. Still some pretty good stuttering happening there. Now, you know what else I wonder? I wonder if I'm in full screen. Well, it says I am. Okay. Alright. So I just wanted to make sure that was actually legit. Okay, so now let's start messing with some of the other things here. Let's take visual effects down to HDR and see what we get. All the way into the 60s almost. Alright, so now we're climbing pretty rapidly. That was a big jump. And let's see if we really notice much of a difference. So I'm going to sort of just take this shot here into consideration. I know we need to power the aircraft back a little bit. Alright, so what do we got now? Back into the low or higher 30s, so I think that 60s was because we had the nose high. She does have autopilot, doesn't she? How do we set our altitude is my question. That's setting the altimeter. I didn't want to do that. That's a vertical speed. I don't know how to engage the autopilot in this thing. Got the heading working. Never mind that we're going to crash into the ground still. There she goes. Okay. Just getting somewhere here. But again, how do I know what the altitude is set to? I'm looking here. I'm looking for something to be moving. Something to indicate what our target is. I haven't flown this version before. This is the default version. Like I said, I haven't touched any add-ons, any payware aircraft. I have a bunch. I just haven't installed anything yet. This is literally X-Plane 11 right out of the box. I don't think I've ever flown the default Cessna. So I guess we'll just... I guess as long as it's not crashing, you know? Power's a little low in it. Okay, anyway, let's get back to what we're here for. We can adjust our heading. Where's our heading bug? Okay. I just don't want the engine pooping out on us while I'm sitting here trying to do this. Alright, so now let's start playing with settings again. So let's see here. Now, I'm going to bump this back up, and what I'm looking for is a difference, really. Okay, so this is maximum. We're looking at sort of everything. I look at the edges, I look at shadowing, I look at colors. I look at objects out in the distance, the mountains, things like that, and then I'm going to look for any change, you know, any things that I'm expecting to see when we degrade it is going to be jagged edges, maybe the colors not being sharp, images not being sharp. You know, I'm looking at buildings over here. So now if we bring it back down, what do we get? Okay, so, I mean, minimal comparison, right? So it's not worth the performance hit. So now we're going to try textures here, texture quality. So we're going to bring it down to high, and we're going to take a look, again, we're going to be monitoring the aircraft and things like that. Okay, no noticeable difference there. Let's go to the external view. Circle it for a bit. Still looks fantastic. Let's kick it back up. I do like the way the planes have looked in X-Plane. I've always thought the planes looked pretty good. Okay, so it looks like we saw some changes down below. Let's look down below again. So I'm going to take that back, and I'm watching the terrain this time. Well, maybe not. Maybe I'm smoking rocks. Alright, so in that case, let's unpause and see what we're getting here. Well, 30 to 40, not much change between the two. So again, either way, that means it's still not worth the impact, right? Now let's take anti-aliasing down to just super sampling. What do we get now? Gained maybe 4 or 5 frames. Let's get in the cockpit. Bring that camera back up so we can sort of get an idea. And again, no noticeable difference. Everything still looks nice and smooth. Nothing that I would complain about. And the thing that you have to remember when doing these kind of things, and I think I said this in the FS video, was be realistic. How much are you going to notice when you're flying? Like, obviously you're going to be super critical of it when you're like we are right now. We're checking every little thing. We're looking at the roads. We're looking down here at the dashes. But when you're actually up and flying, after you've been flying for a minute, and actually you're actively doing things, you're setting up your flights, you're talking to ATC, you're doing your climb outs, following your flight plans. How much of the graphics are you going to notice at that point? You know what I mean? And especially at the point that you start to settle down. All right, flights. You're at your cruise level, things have settled in. You've got a few minutes to sort of poke out the window. By that point, what's your altitude? Again, what are you going to actually notice? As fun as it is getting all the cool airports, I have a bunch of them for X-Plane 11. When you get all the airports, when you're on approach in an A320 or a 737, how much of the airport do you guys really notice before you're on the ground? You know what I mean? So, and it's not to say don't buy them. I absolutely love them. I'm just saying these are things to think about. Why are we stalling? At least I recognize that warning. What are you doing? Did we lose the autopilot? Yes, we did. Knock it off. Get a hold of yourself, plane. Cool your jets, plane. Cool your jets. Okay. That was special. Anyway. Oh, we lost our altitude too, didn't we? See, but I don't see any kind of bug or anything to assign what altitude I wanted to sit at. I'm really trying to figure that out, because I don't want it just flying to fly. I want an altitude. Nope. All that did was kick it down a bit. So it's not on the altimeter. You would think that might be it, but I don't see a way to move it. Nope. Again, just adjusting the altimeter. So I would think maybe over here on one of the screens. 173 degrees, the bearing, the snap computer, V-localizer. This is, let's see your ground speed, DS, COM 1 and COM 2. Anyway. Okay, so I'm going to say that we're probably close to what I'm realistically going to get. So I'm going to take anisotropic filtering down to 8x. I'm going to go ahead and do the restart that it requires, and we'll be right back. So I'm going to say we got a pretty significant jump on that one, at least from the runway's perspective. So let's, once again, get it rolling. This time we'll actually watch the flight. Okay, so we're still in the high 50s, so that was definitely a big one. Okay, so I think I've got the basis to give you guys a good start here. So I'm going to say that our biggest hitters, I'm going to graphics, your biggest hitters are going to be your number of world objects, visual effects at high texture, or at the highest, texture quality at its highest, and anisotropic filtering. This one was huge. This was a pretty significant jump. It was approximately anywhere from 20 to almost double the frames what we had before at its maximum setting. Now, when we compare the two, I don't know why my mouse is jumping around like that. It's driving me crazy. When we compare the two, I don't really see, again, much difference. This is another one of those scenarios where ask yourself, is it worth it? You know, I mean, yeah, now we're back down into the mid 40s, but again, that's probably due to the number of objects being drawn, and we can still tweak things a little bit. Might even go down a little bit further, but let's see what we got here. Mind the terrible flying. Like I said, I'm totally not worried about the flying right now. Let's take our reflection detail. I'm kind of curious if we bring it down to medium, and see what we get now. And some of it may be, for example, the stuttering. You know, I'm kind of curious about is if we do just like we did with just like we did with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Next plane. So let's start here. Set priority. Let's set it to high. Never go real time. Doesn't almost any. Oops. Cancel. Jesus. Almost any software I can think of, you probably wouldn't ever want to go real time on. So it seemed to help a little bit, smooth things out a little. Let's try one more thing. That let's take another one from the DCS World and FS 2020 playbook. I'm going to stop the sim here again. Oops, wrong button. You can tell I'm still getting back into the swing of things here. Quit. And if we pull up our directory, give me a second, I'm just getting there. If we pull up our X-Plane, let's go to our executable, go to properties. We'll go to compatibility. And we don't want full screen optimization. I'm going to change the DPI settings, and again, let's see here, override DPI scaling behavior performed by application. So we're going to do that, hit apply, hit OK, and let's run it again and see what we get. The one thing I did miss is how fast X-Plane starts. It's definitely, like, I mean, there is no wait time here. No wait time. It just goes. So I'm happy about that. And again, though, this is default installation, so I'm sure some of that will change as we start getting custom scenery and things of that nature. So, I'm not trying to be too spoiled by it, but it's nice to see the launch window that fast. I'm not going to lie. Where the hell are we? We were in the air. Where are we? I'm guessing I got too close to the ground and spawned me at another airport. Which is fine. As long as I know where I am. So what are we getting on frames these days? Up in the 60s. But what I'm looking for is just like we saw with Microsoft, stuttering. Frame rates were actually more than comfortable beforehand. I probably shouldn't be going full throttle, should I? Oh, I'm pushing on the brake while I'm turning it. Alright, so I don't see any stuttering yet, which is a big difference. And I can't stress enough, guys. I said this in FS 2020, and people still kept trying to ask, "What's your settings? What's your settings? What's your settings?" Please don't do that. It's not worth it for you. It's not that I mind sharing my settings. I mean, you guys saw them on the screen, so if you really want them, I guess use them. And because I know people are going to ask, and I'm sure it'll still come up, so I'll tell you guys anyway. Where are we? Hang on a second. People are going to ask, and I know they're going to ask, but I can't stress enough, guys, take the time to find the settings that work best for your machine. It is a pain in the butt. I guarantee I still probably have a couple more hours in this by the time that I'm done. It is a pain. Oh, look, Navigraph's updating again. How wonderful. But it's worth it. You can have two identical machines side by side, the exact same hardware, both brand new installations, both with the exact same softwares installed on them. And I'm telling you, you could find yourself having completely different performances. Okay, it's just I can't stress it enough, guys. Take the time, figure out what works best for you. We were on a helicopter port. No wonder why I wasn't getting out of there. Let me get up here. Where's my KTUS? I could have sworn I set it to favorite. Yeah, I did. So why didn't it come up when I hit the favorites? That's awesome. Anyway, start new flight. So it's absolutely worth it for you guys to do this. That doesn't look like Tucson. We have a 2-1 right, but whatever. Let's get airborne. I can tell you right now, that's not Tucson. That's not our airport, or that's not our tower. Anyway, so before anyone asks, I have the AMD 3200, no 3900 XT. I have a GTX 20 or a RTX 2080 Ti. I have 32 gigs of DDR4 RGB Neo from G-Skill, specifically designed for AMD chipsets. I have the sim running on a solid-state NVMe M.2 PCI 4 generation hard drive. All right, I really can't think of anything else, and I'm running at 4K. Okay, but guys, don't try to use my settings. Take the time, use my methodology. Start by cranking everything. Crank everything. And then from there, you work down to the larger settings. Start with the environment. Your environment is always going to be your biggest killer. Okay, unless you have like an aircraft that isn't optimized or something to that effect. But for example, you can see they were up in 65 frames per second there, 63, 64. Okay, and there's, like I said, there's still going to be a whole lot more for me to do here. And next we'll start adding new content as far as add-ons and things like that. So anyway, I hope you guys found this valuable. The next one, I'll start showing how I'm installing my add-ons and things like that. And we'll see you guys shortly. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.